This is Victor Cruz, Super Bowl champion New York Giants, and I got to get my ICTV.
Iona College, WICR, Benzino, the hero here. Special segment of WICR today. And Kevin Walsh is with me, Antonio Coppola, Rob JD in the cut. And we're big NBA guys here. We're itching for NBA. We know football's coming, but NBA is what we're going to talk about today. And that topic is Kevin Durant and the possibility of going to the New York Knicks. Now, his contract ends up after the season, right, guys? Yeah. So why are we discussing this 12 months in advance? Why?
Well,
tell him, Knicks fan. Tell him.
Yeah, all right. I'll start it off. Benzino, the reason why we are here currently situated, seated in WICR talking about this is because there has been a leaked report by none other than Stephen A. Smith, who I'm personally not a fan of. But he did say that he knows for a fact that Carmelo Anthony has been and will continue to recruit Kevin Durant, quote-unquote, once the cows come home. That basically means until he goes somewhere else or he ends up in a Knicks uniform.
All right.
And Stephen A. also went on to say that he's hearing that Kevin Durant is giving the New York Knicks consideration. So now I'm going to leave the floor to Kevin because he's more of a neutral voice in this room. You and I are Knicks fans, Ben, so Kevin, take it away.
Talk to the people.
I mean, the people, I don't know how they'll feel about it. I know that you guys probably won't be happy about what I have to say, but I think it's false. I think it's false hope. You both are Knicks fans, and so is Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith's #1 sport is basketball, and I'm sure that he's itching for Kevin Durant to come here just like anybody else is. When you look at Kevin Durant, he re-signed with the Thunder, and that's why that deal is currently going off. It's not like he's going off a rookie deal or something like that. Like he re-signed there. And one of the main things he said was that I like the hometown feel, the small type of city that which I play in Oklahoma. And realistically, the only destination I could see Durant leaving there would be to go home to D.C. and actually play with the Wizards. Outside of that, I don't really see it, especially when you consider the fact that Phil Jackson and Carmelo Anthony, as a 1-2 punch in bringing in recruits, have been awful.
They brought in recruits, but they're no A-listers.
I mean, when you think about the fact that they were supposed to be 100%, David West was supposed to wear a Knicks uniform. Couldn't be more of a lock. And instead of taking big money and going to play in New York, he took the veterans minimum and went to the Spurs and said, nah, I want to play for a contender.
And let's talk about how LaMarcus Aldridge was
canceled the meeting completely.
He canceled the meeting on him.
Now, see, that was to me the reason where if I were to be a Knicks fan, I really would have lost all faith in Phil Jackson and called for his job. You bring in Phil. Now, that's Phil Jackson.
You know that
at the minimum, a man of that stature should at least be guaranteed a meeting.
The aura of that man.
Meanwhile, over in Miami, Pat Riley sat down with LaMarcus Aldridge at dinner for hours, where Pat Riley wasn't even trying to bring him this year. He said, listen, sign short term. Come see me next year. I'm going to have the money. Let's make this happen. And he gets that meeting, and they're there for hours talking about something that's not even relevant to that current offseason. And Phil doesn't even get to sit down because he's so stubborn. He goes, nah, but you're going to play center. And LaMarcus like, no, what are you doing?
You know, you played a 4 for 10 years in the league. Yeah.
Well, now I have a question for Kevin because with what you just said, does that mean Phil Jackson's too old school? Because, Pat Riley, as a general manager, even as a coach, he's. I mean, obviously, Phil, we know what he's done as a coach, but Pat Riley, in a front office position, he has the resume, he has the background, and players, give him the benefit of the doubt. Whereas Phil, he comes into a situation with the Knicks, and he obviously he's head over heel. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's in over his head. Who did they get? Aaron Aflalo, Derek Williams, and Kyle O'Quinn? Come on. I mean, honestly, as a Knicks fan, I wasn't happy. I'm more happy about I'm more excited for Porzingis because he's a project. He's got the potential that you look for in a potential star. But is Phil Jackson too old school? Is that why he's not getting the guys in?
It's not old school. Phil Jackson thinks he's way better than everybody else. That's the problem.
That? Yeah.
First of all, he's bashed every Knicks player that's left.
That's true.
Now, why would anyone see that and then want to come there?
Poor Andrea Bargnani. Did you see what he said?
Yeah, he trashed all over Bargnani, all over Shumpert, all over JR, all over Hardaway Jr. I mean, I can understand JR. If you're going to trash someone, I mean, JR may have earned that. Right. But, I mean, Bargnani showed up. Now, was Bargnani good? No. But That's just what it is. Why do you have to? He's gone. Let it be what it be.
Now let me get Jiggity in here. Rob Jiggity, talk to me. 2212, you here?
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think about this whole KD coming to New York thing?
Me being a Knicks fan, I wish like KD would come through, but me being a realist, I don't see it coming anytime. Like Walsh said, he likes that small town feel.
Do you think because of the market? Because you can see players anywhere get a deal. Even when Kevin Love was in Minnesota, you still saw him in ads. You see Paul George playing in Indiana, a small market. He's getting ad space. I don't think KD's worried about that. This guy, he was only in the finals once, and his team got embarrassed by Kevin Walsh, Miami Heat.
Huh?
So this guy is all about rings now with his career. He's on the LeBron thing. If I'm not getting to the chip, this season's a failure. Does he have the best opportunity to do that in Oklahoma City?
I have to go with yes to him. For me, the thing that was holding them back more than anything was Scott Brooks. I truly bashed him constantly. I thought he was a horrible head coach. It would be crunch time. They'd come out of timeouts, and Russell Westbrook would dribble at the top of the three-point line for 20 seconds, then 2 dribbles right, and he's taking a long-range two-pointer trying to beat the clock. That's not offense. What did you even talk about in the timeout?
They literally
Sneakers? I don't understand. What
they
were you?
sat there and talked about what Gatorade's in the cooler.
I mean, that obviously had to be that because it makes no sense. And truthfully, I understand the hope, the want for a player like Durant. How could you not want someone like Kevin Durant, who I think at some point might pass LeBron for best player in the league? I mean, that year that Kevin Durant won MVP, and this is where I give Kevin Durant all the credit in the world. To me, the obvious second best player in the league. When Derrick Rose won his MVP, I still feel that LeBron James was the better player. But Derrick Rose won his award, and he got that. That's cool. But Durant, when he won his MVP, that season he was genuinely better than what LeBron James was that year. He was just another level. I look at Kevin Durant as someone who, if the health isn't something that's going to keep bothering him, could break the all-time scoring record. He's that good of a scorer. He's that pure of a shooter. His ability to drive, and you pair him with someone like Russell Westbrook, who, in my opinion, is the third best player in all of basketball, with his ability to get to the basket and rebound and just do everything. I mean, I think Russell Westbrook deserves serious MVP consideration if they would have made that 8th seed last year. And certain other pieces that are around them. Serge Ibaka is a respectable 4. Enes Kanter is a 3 is a 5 with a lot of potential. Realistically, if I'm Kevin Durant and I'm saying, all right, let me go to the Knicks, what does he really have to be happy about? I understand Carmelo's there, and I think that Carmelo is he's a great player.
Of course,
he's a great player, and I mean anyone who says otherwise is foolish and doesn't really know what they're talking about. But I don't know if I really look at Carmelo Anthony if I'm someone like Kevin Durant and say that's the guy that's going to get me the ring. I don't know if I look at that situation. If I'm Kevin Durant, I would be more so leaning to, if I'm leaving Oklahoma, you know what, I could go back home to Washington. By that time, John Wall maybe is best point guard. Well, not best point guard, but he would be top 5 point guards in the league. Bradley Beal, top 5 shooting guards in the league. They have a very good front court in Nene and Gortat. I mean, that's something that I think would get Durant way more excited than saying, oh, I need to go to the Knicks to make money. Durant's making money. Durant's not out here struggling.
He's got a $300 shoe deal.
I mean,
$300 million shoe deal.
I mean, the thing about these NBA players is that a lot of their money doesn't even come from these contracts. LeBron James, I mean, the contract, realistically, he can make $1,000 a year from the Cleveland Cavs, and he's still fine.
Exactly.
Through all those shoes and other endorsements that he's making.
$125,000 just for a tweet.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think that pretty much puts it into perspective. So, I think you're even seeing that more to what you said, Ben, in regards to places like New York and Los Angeles and even Miami. The draw that they once had and being able to say, like, oh, we're the biggest market, you need to come here if you want to make that money, it's kind of changing around.
It's not an issue.
People get money regardless if they're talented enough and have that personality.
If Kevin Durant would have come to New York, just thinking about this now while we're on talk of why Kevin Durant, the consideration of him might come into New York, it would be like when KD first started with that team. It was Nenad Krisic, Dabo Cephalos. It's very, not mediocre role players, but it's not that star-studded lineup we've come to know Kevin Durant being. So if he would go to the Knicks, I'm not saying Robin Lopez and Nenad Krisic are the same players, but it's that type of scenario, but just a little bit better.
I think it's a little early to we don't know exactly what the Knicks are. They've got a lot of young pieces, picking up Porzingis and Grant in this past year's draft. Obviously, they got the role players, Ben, you just talked about, Aflalo and guys like that. But I think the connecting of the dots comes from not only Stephen A's report, but if you look at the situation, Kevin mentioned Kevin Durant going over to Washington. I think the most realistic thing, whether it's the Knicks, Washington, is a move over to the Eastern Conference, because if he really wants to win as bad as he does, he's got to get out of the West. And unless him and Russell Westbrook turn it on this year and they make a deep run, because if he comes over to the Eastern Conference, I think the whole groundwork, everything just switches up. It's going to be him and LeBron battling it out in their own conference rather than going head to head in the finals as they did years ago.
And Chicago's in a new regime. Washington's on the way up.
Derrick Rose is not Derrick Rose anymore.
It's still competition, but not as much as the West.
Look, everyone knows what the West is, but realistically, if I'm Durant,
you got to come to the East.
I'd rather stay out West.
Yeah.
If I'm honest with you, to me, I think the Thunder are up there in that top four. I label as the West as the top five. There's the Thunder, the Warriors, the Clippers, the Spurs, and the Rockets. It's a top five tier of teams that are going to be, one of them will represent the West. Now, when you look at the East, it's realistically the Cavs and everyone else.
Right.
Now, I understand that you put Durant there, then you could say, well, Durant can go to LeBron. But right now, if I give you the Knicks lineup plus Durant, do you really feel like that's enough to beat LeBron and the Cavs? Because if I'm being honest, I don't think so. I understand you have Durant and Melo, but how much more? How much is
no, I understand, which is why I said you gotta wait until you see what the Knicks are this year. If the Knicks have another sub 20 win season, then forget it. The hopes of Durant coming next year are out the door. But if the Knicks can get up there, maybe in the top four of the East, God help us.
If they finish top four in the East, Carmelo Anthony is scoring 50 to 60 a game.
But we don't know what Porzingis is. We don't know what Grant can be. Grant was a 4-year player at Notre Dame. I think he's ready to step in the NBA and play a big role.
Jaren Grant, someone who I watch Notre Dame very close. Jaren Grant will never, ever be on an All-Star team, and that's no disrespect to Jaren Grant. That's not saying that he's a bad player. But if they're going to be top four.
He's better than Shane Larkin. He's better than Langston Galloway, I hope.
And
LG.
I mean, that's not saying all.
No, I know, but I'm saying he will be the star. I think he will be the star. I mean, what's Calderon? Calderon is a trade asset at this point with that contract. I don't know. And then there's the other part where, when you spoke about Durant's MVP season, he did have Derek Fisher with him on that team in Oklahoma City.
Mentor-esque. But saying if KD would have got Kevin Ali instead of Billy Donovan. Ali was his teammate back when I was saying when they had Kristich in the early days. So that mentor aspect is there.
Yeah, and if you look at what the Thunder did without KD, that speaks to how talented that team is, because you're missing a MVP caliber player who's giving you 37 and 5, and you still almost an 8th seed, like one game off of being an 8th seed. And then you look at what the Wizards did, and you look at what the Knicks did, you can see how talented the Thunder are over those other squads. And plus, with Kevin Durant, they're potentially a championship team every year.
I mean, I think Jiggity has it right on the head. I mean, when you really think about it, that team was without Kevin Durant. I mean, that is comparable to the Cleveland Cavaliers being without LeBron James. In all honesty, if right now I take this Cleveland Cavalier team and I take the Oklahoma City Thunder, if I said take LeBron off, take Durant off, I think the Thunder hurt more because you have at least Kyrie and Love. I mean, realistically, the Thunder were a game away from the postseason in the Western Conference with Russell Westbrook playing his heart out and
triple-double every single night.
The only reason they didn't make it because of an Anthony Davis double clutch buzzer beater.
Right.
I mean, it's true, and I mean, so when you really look at it though, if Durant is there, I mean, they coast into the postseason. They're easily going to be in there. So I think that you gotta look at it if you're Kevin Durant. I mean, obviously, this is something that's been spoke about way in advance.
Way too early. We're NBA guys.
I mean,
we're itching.
If you're gonna tell me to put a percentage on it, just because there's no such thing as impossible, I'll give you 0.01 to let you know that there's a possibility. So be hopeful, Knicks fans.
Thank you, Antonio. Any final words?
No, wait, what do we got? A month till the season, so a month and a
till the
half.
season.
What is it, like Halloween? It starts right around.
Halloween, 28th, 29th.
Oh God!
Jiggity, anything else?
No,
Please
that's
God,
pretty
let the
much-
Knicks be better. That's all I'm asking.
NYK, keep it smooth in WICR Radio.
Hey, New Rochelle, it's Ken Dashout from Q1043, and